Welcome to the Windows Computer and Technology channel. And of course, we looked at the numbers for the Windows market share. Windows 11 slowly going up at 31 point some percent. And, you look at all of these numbers, Windows 10 still dominates. And of course, I got a few questions out there from users saying, well, it's interesting to see these numbers move. It's natural that Windows 11 is moving ahead since all new PCs sold are Windows 11. It's back to school. Some have talked about that here in the Northern Hemisphere. And that, of course, accounts for more sales of PCs. But it is very interesting when you look at the numbers. So first of all, one of the questions that came a couple of times is, I wonder how distorted, how changed these numbers would be if Windows 12, would have been here. And if it does come out next year, what impact it would have. And of course, it definitely would have an impact. We talked so many times about the jump over, that Windows version that people always jump over. And of course, it would have been that jump over version probably. People moving from 10 to 12 directly, with new PCs mostly. And but here's the thing: with the changes and information we're getting right now, first of all, we know that Windows 11 24H2 is what's coming this year, and the last part of this year. So in a month or two, we're going to get that new version for everybody. It's available in, if you want to be on release preview, things like that. But officially, a month or two before we get it. And 2025, I don't think we'll see a Windows 12, honestly. For one main reason, we're still going to have Windows 10 going through. We're still going to have a rising Windows 11. I think they're going to stick to their guns, try to, push Windows 11 as hard as they can. And if we would see a Windows 12, I think it wouldn't be before 2026. I have the impression they put a hold on having a new version of Windows, and let's just, work on what we have now. Because it's been very quiet on that front of anything Windows 12 right now. And the change at Microsoft's Windows division, I think all of these people have different views, different ideas of what the future brings. Another thing is to note, we talk about, I see all the people like, oh, well, Microsoft is killing itself where everybody's going to Linux, which is not at all happening. Anybody thinking that, yeah, we're going to Linux, we're not. Nobody wants to go to Linux. Nobody understands what's Linux, and 90% of people have no idea what it is and wouldn't want to use it. It's as simple as that. That's the way it works. That's the way Microsoft dominates all the time also, because all the things it does, you can't do on anything else. And so, it doesn't work like that. And the only side that could be a competition would be a Mac, but even that isn't working. And it's interesting because look at these numbers of the operating systems around the world that are popular. Look, first of all, who dominates is Android, which is normal. There's so many phones out there with Android on it. But look at Android. Android is, slowly climbing. It's still climbing. We look at this, 44.7, 45.2. It's not climbing fast, but it's definitely constantly climbing. And look at Windows, which is going down. It's at 25% of what is all the operating systems around the world. Then you have iOS, which is the Mac side, which is iPhones, iPads, and OS X, which is Mac computers. When you look at these numbers, the only real thing that you could see is that there's a decline, pretty much a constant decline of Windows market share in all of these operating systems around the world. But the only one that really could account for that decline is Android moving up. And I think this chart shows one thing that I've talked in the past. People moving out of Windows aren't going to Linux at all. That number of Linux has been there at that range of 1 to 2% for the last 20 years. There isn't a rise of Linux users at all. And the Android going up means that, you know what? People are ditching their PCs for a mobile device. So what we're losing in Windows users, I think, is going to either Android or maybe iOS for iPads, iPhones. But even that isn't really, it's pretty stable when you look at the numbers. So I think people are moving to something else. They're getting to Android. They're getting that big phone of theirs or even a tablet. And they understand that they do what they need to do with that. So anybody that doesn't have to use a PC for work, for example, or for specific tasks that are only on Windows PCs, they kind of go to Android and say, hey, you know what? I do all I want with my phone. Why should I get something else? And the number of people doing that is very high. And even if you look at the young generation, a lot of people in their 20s have no PCs at all. They don't want one. They don't see why, because they got their phone that does it all. So there is stress on Windows, but it's only coming from mobile devices, not from, Windows losing market share to Macs or to Linux. That ain't happening. And it's funny because Linux users are in their own little world and think that, oh yeah, one day we're going to be big. And by the way, don't come to me saying, yeah, well, Android, what it is, it's, Linux. It's like, no, it's Android. And the reason I'm going to say that is, yes, I understand what you're saying, but it's called Android and it works differently than Linux in the way that it is an app-oriented system with a store for mobile devices. So don't bring me that's Linux. It's not. It's Android. Android is Android, and that's it. It doesn't work like that. Linux, we are calling Linux distributions that can work on a desktop PC and stuff like that. And that look like, because they're all, even though they're, each distribution is different in ways that it shows your screen and so on. And even each distro has several desktop possibilities. It stays a desktop operating system, which is not the case for the other ones. So I find it interesting because I think what is happening is that as time goes by, Windows will erode its market share, not due to, like I said, moving on to a Mac or Linux, but to the mobile devices we're actually buying. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.